Today we're going to make things out of milk. We're going to make sour milk and then cheese, very simple farmer's cheese that anybody can make at home. We'll show you how. Here are the ingredients. In fact, you should only need one ingredient, which is milk. And that's what we did in Poland always, but it was raw milk that we had in Poland. We never had pasteurized milk in the past, and it just worked. You left it out on the counter, open, not closed, open, for 1 or 2 days, and it would turn sour. However, here we want to make sure that the right bacteria is introduced, the right culture. So we're going to use kefir to do that, so that we make sure that the milk turns sour instead of going bad, which can happen if the wrong bacteria is present in the milk. And we're going to do an experiment. I always use milk from cows on pasture. However, we're going to use just regular milk, non-organic regular milk from the store, to see if we can also make sour milk out of that, and then maybe cheese as well. So in order to have this regular milk, pasteurized milk, turn into sour milk, we need to introduce the right culture, which is going to be the kefir. For making cheese, we also need a pot, a strainer that fits inside and leaves room for liquid, and a cheesecloth. So this is a very thin material, as you can see. We'll double it, and it needs to fit in the strainer and still have some room. If you don't have cheesecloth, you can use very thin cotton. It has to be thin enough for the liquid to drain. This is made specifically for making cheese, and the bonus of this is that you can make denser cheese with this. We will show you how in the process. Okay, let's start. First, we're going to pour milk into jars. We already labeled the jars, so we know later which milk is which, otherwise it would be impossible to tell. And we want to compare the sour milk that comes out and then later cheese. So these are 1 quart jars, or 1 liter. Now we're going to add kefir to milk to introduce the right type of culture. Now we're going to use this serving spoon. Normally we just pour it in, but we want to show you how much goes in. So we're using this serving spoon. This is not a tablespoon, it's larger than a tablespoon. So we're going to pour it in now. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3 tablespoons go into this jar, and the same we're going to do here with the raw milk. Okay, that's pretty much it. The milk is ready now. We are going to cover it with paper towels just to make sure that nothing gets in, because we're going to keep the milk standing here on the kitchen counter for couple of days, 1 to 2 days, sometimes 3, depends on the temperature. So you want the milk breathing. You don't want to close it entirely, because then it will go bad. So it needs to have oxygen access, it needs to be breathing, and it needs to be in a relatively cool temperature. 70, 75, 65 would be nice, but not really in hot place. It will go very sour very quickly, and it won't be tasty at all. So this is it. We're just going to wait a couple of days and see you how it looks later. Bye.
Bye.
When you're setting fresh milk to go sour with a little bit of kefir like we did, you might want to check at least once a day if it already happened. That's because it is the best tasting when it's really fresh. So shake the jar a little bit, or check with a spoon all the way down. As soon as it's curdled all the way down to the bottom of the jar, it's ready. You can put it then in the fridge, store it in the fridge, so it doesn't go any more sour than that. And it will store for a few days. this is 2 days later, and you can see that the milk in both jars has curdled. But there is a big difference between the jars, much to my surprise. I actually have never done this experiment before, so it's interesting to see how much more water seems to be in the regular milk. It looks completely different from the raw milk that we were using. This is what I would expect it to look like. Maybe a little bit of the whey water, but not this much. And so when you're actually checking if the milk is ready or not, you just need to see that it's curdled all the way down. So if you can see, like when I move it, right, you can see that the milk is curdled inside. It's not liquid anymore like fresh milk. So we're ready now to start the next step. You can see in both jars on top there is a layer of sour cream, but we are going to remove, this one is mixed already a little bit, but we're going to remove it because if you want to make cheese and you have the cream, the fat in it, it can make it taste a little bitter, so we don't want that, so we're going to remove it. So this is soured milk now, and you can drink it as is. And it's very refreshing and tastes great. We mix it often with fruit to make like a milkshake. And I wanted my mom to try, but she does not want to try the regular milk here. It just does not look very appetizing. But I will try both of them. I'm very curious what the difference is. And we'll use both to make cheese separately, so then we can also try the difference between the two types of milk in a cheese. I'm ready to try the milk. This is the first one, the regular milk, not so runny. Let's see. It's fine. It's a little bit sour and not much flavor really, but it's very thick. It's consistency like really thick sour cream. Now this is far more runny. This is the milk that we normally use. And let's see. It has a lot more flavor. It's also slightly sour. Very tasty. I go for this one. Both can be used for making cheese, so this is what we're gonna do next. Okay, so now we're going to make cheese. At least we're gonna start the process. We're going to measure half a quart of milk, or half a liter of milk, the same thing, in each pot here. And by the way, these jars are 1 quart jars. So we have soured milk, 1 quart each jar. So half of it goes in one, since we're gonna make 2 batches of cheese, and half in the other. So now we're going to boil the milk, and once it is boiling, then we'll be adding the soured milk into it. The milk is starting to boil, so now we can, as you can see, it starts to go up. So now we can pour the sour milk in. There we go. It's all inside. Now she's going to shake the pot just to mix it and turn off the heat, and we're going to set it aside until tomorrow in a cool place for the cheese to separate from the whey. That's it. This is what the milk cheese looks like now. It's still hot. We're going to set it aside and wait until tomorrow. It's next morning and we are ready to make cheese. So this is what it looks like. This is the raw milk. We switched it so it's easier for my mom to reach. And this is the regular milk. So we're just going to pour it over the cheesecloth, and so we can separate the whey from the cheese. There you go. And now after that, you want to let it strain for a while. Okay, so now we can just let it rest, and we are going to make the other one. And this one we're going to split in two, so we will make some of that more dense cheese with thin cotton triangular device. So half of it is going to go into the cheesecloth, and the other half is going to go into the triangular cotton. And the difference is that the cheesecloth, you can't really squeeze it much because the cheese will go through it. But with the this thin cotton material, it will not let any cheese get through, so we can squeeze out more of the whey. So now here we have this triangular cotton, and the rest of the cheese material is going to go in here, the sour milk.
Okay.
That's what it looks like. Now to make farmer's cheese in a cheesecloth, we just need to tie it and hang it somewhere. Again, we're going to wait until the evening for all the liquid to drain, or as much as possible, just by the weight of the cheese. So we are going to use the oven to hang the cheese and let it drain. So it's a very simple process. Not much work. It's mainly waiting for the whey and curds to separate, and now waiting for the cheese to drain the excess whey. The whey that's left over from cheese making is actually good for you, and it's tasty. It's a little bit sour, and so here my mom is going to try some, and we'll see the difference between the two different milks that we had. So this is the one that was regular, and this one she's pouring right now is from the cows on pasture. So let's see. It's good for your gut. It's okay, all right. And here is the one that was from the cows on pasture.
Pyszne.
She said it's delicious. Very good. And if you don't want to drink the whey, it's very good fertilizer, so you can mix it with water and water your plants with it. We are ready to try the cheese. It's evening now, and here are the two we already got out from the cheesecloth, and now we're getting the one that was in the cotton cloth. Wow, see? Nice and flat.
Ale on powinien wyschnąć, bo trudno wyjąć będzie.
Ah,
Taki.
so it turns out this should be completely dried. It's still wet. You can see here that it's wet. So then it's easy to get it out, but when it's wet, it's very hard to get it out of there. Here are the cheeses that we made. From this side, this is the one that was made from the milk from the cows on pasture. This was regular milk, and this is also regular milk. This was pressed in cotton cloth. So we're going to try and see. They should have a little bit different consistency. So this one is very crumbly, as you can see. And this should be pretty much the same, but let's see. Actually, this one sticks together more. This was also when I was drinking the sour milk, that was also this consistency was kind of strange because it sticks together. And here is the cheese that was pressed. So it's a little bit drier. That's the whole thing, is that you can keep it even longer in that cotton cloth in the fridge, pressed, until it gets even more dry, and then you can just slice it and eat it on bread. We use this cheese in Poland in many different dishes. There are pierogi made with this cheese and sugar and cinnamon, which are basically dumplings. And we also put it in crepes, in pancakes, also with sugar and cinnamon. It's very tasty. Yes, we love this cheese. But here we're going to just eat it plain with a little bit of salt and see how it tastes. We are ready to try the cheese. We are going to start with the one that was made from regular milk. And let's see what it tastes like. I like it with a little bit of salt. So there we have. It's very creamy. It's extremely creamy. And it has very mild flavor. Let's try another one. So this one now is it's the same milk. It was just in the cotton cloth. So I expect it to be firmer. Let's see. Yes, only texture is different. And it's actually quite a bit of a difference. It's much drier. Let's try. This is from the milk from cows on pasture. Let's see how this compares.
Ma smaczek.
It has more of a cheese flavor, but it's also very different texture. Generally speaking, this cheese is very mild. If you keep it too long, then it will get sour. But the cheese made with the milk from cows on pasture is a little bit granular compared to the regular one. It's a little bit more like cottage cheese, but just slightly. And I think that this cheese is so creamy because it's the milk was homogenized, so a lot of the fat is pushed into the milk itself. So I think that's what gives it this creamy texture. So the end result is that you can make this cheese from regular milk. Just add some kefir, 3 tablespoons in a quart of milk. Let it stand for 3 days and follow the process that we showed you here. And you'll have this wonderful cheese that you can eat in a salty or sweet, however you prefer, on bread, on toast, on pancakes, mixed with fruit. It is inexpensive to make it at home, and it doesn't contain any weird ingredients like guar gum or some other gum or what have you. So highly recommend making this cheese at home. Try it and let us know if you liked it or not. That's it. Bye.
Bye.